Pop quiz. What do X-Men Days of Future Past and Avengers Endgame have in common?
Time travel!
Thank you very much, Professor Hulk. Yes, what has become a very common trope in sci-fi in today's world, and really for the past few centuries even, is time travel. We had classics like Back to the Future, and then all the way in 2019 we had a film called Avengers Endgame, which decided as the culmination of the entire MCU, it was going to use time travel. But another big comic book movie had used it just a few years before, and that was X-Men Days of Future Past, where that film basically entirely revolved around time travel. And while you guys may know, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, that I do love Avengers Endgame, I also love X-Men Days of Future Past. And I'm here to tell you that, in my personal opinion, X-Men Days of Future Past blows Avengers Endgame out of the water in time travel. Let me explain why. But before I do, if you guys want to join the Access Blockbusters crew, make sure to subscribe, like the video, let me know in the comments down below whether you like this video, and let me know in the comments which do you think did time travel better, X-Men Days of Future Past or Avengers Endgame. Also, of course, massive spoiler alert for both films. Alright, all the disclaimers out of the way, let's get into this video. So look, obviously, unless you are watching this video and you are from the future, in that case, welcome. Please make sure to subscribe and tell everyone in the future to subscribe. Wait, that doesn't make sense? Anyways. But unless you are from the future, well, time travel doesn't exist in real life right now. But time travel has become one of the biggest tropes in science fiction. It's used basically in every single major franchise that's been long running at a certain point, except for maybe Star Wars, at least until Star Wars Rebels did this, which I don't know if I was a fan of. So suffice it to say, while it wasn't necessarily surprising that Avengers Endgame used time travel, it might have been a little bit jarring, shall we say? And the reason is this, because time travel in general, is very clunky in science fiction. And you had this culmination of the 23 Infinity Saga movies, right? And you wanted to wrap it up very nicely, and while Avengers Endgame did a very good job within the constraints of time travel itself is just a very clunky device. In fact, it is so clunky that they had to even make fun of the fact that they were using time travel. Take this scene, for example, from Scott Lang.
Are you talking about a time machine?
No, of course not. No, not a time machine. This is more like, yeah, like a time machine.
The writers are clearly trying to get ahead of the audience, who are probably saying in the theater at that point, wait a second, time travel? A time machine? Really? Also, take this quote from Tony Stark.
Right there, Scott. Are you seriously telling me that your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future? Isn't it? No. Good, you had me worried there, because that'd be horseshit.
So the writers were well aware that they were using a ridiculous trope from science fiction, but they did it anyways. And we know the rest. All's well that ends well. Avengers Endgame was an awesome movie. However, time travel was used a lot better in a movie that came out 5 years before that, X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, why is that? Well, let's first take a look at how time travel works in both of these films to better understand why they might be effective and why they might not be. So let's look at X-Men Days of Future Past. The concept of time travel in that film is relatively simple. It revolves around Wolverine, and basically their explanation is this. Kitty Pryde can send someone back in time through their consciousness into their younger self. So it's not like you're going to be able to meet your younger self, just like in all the other films that use time travel. It's rather your consciousness that's traveling back in time into that younger body. However, your past and your future are continuing to coexist at the same time. So in terms of actual minutes, hours, and days, those two realities are streamlined at exactly the same time. The old Wolverine and the young Wolverine are fighting for their realities at the same time. Thus, the entire mission goes on a ticking clock, because the younger Wolverine has to convince Professor Xavier to help them, and while all that is happening, the Sentinels in the future are also going to attack the current X-Men. From there, it's pretty simple. The second that Wolverine wakes up, every single change that he's made in the past will take effect in the future, and everyone in the future will not remember what happened from the past because it is now their actual future. Only Wolverine will know what happened. Alright, so let's go to Avengers Endgame, which I'm sure everyone who's watching this video has seen the film, but let's just do a refresher. Hulk explains it like this.
Think about it. If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
So basically, when you go to the past, that is your current present, and whatever you do doesn't actually affect what happens in the present, but rather becomes a branch timeline. This is all happening through quantum physics, supposedly. And because of that, you have all these branch timelines that are opening up now that Captain America has to fill in at the end. But then he decides to go back to the 1950s or 1940s and meet up back with Peggy Carter, live his life, somehow gets back there as an old Captain America, gives the shield to Sam, and that's what they say time travel is. Now look, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was confused in the theater when hearing that explanation for the first time, and I had to listen to it a few times to fully understand what it meant. But still, there are some elements that are confusing. For example, these branch timelines. What do they actually mean? And don't just take my word for it that it's confusing. How about the fact that the writers, Marcus and McFeely, are basically contradicting what the Russo brothers are saying about Captain America in their film using time travel? They both have directly contradicting ideas of what happened. One says that Captain America went back in time to fulfill the timeline, which would be a sort of time-fulfilling time travel. And we see that in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, as well as a film like Tenet. Basically the fact that all things that are happening in the future when you're going back in time are going to happen anyway, so it's a basically self-fulfilling prophecy. However, on the other hand, you have the Russo brothers who are saying, no, look, he created a branch timeline. Who's right? Honestly, who knows? And this is the key to why X-Men Days of Future Past's time travel works better than Endgame's, because it's simpler. Now, do I trust the fact that the Russo brothers actually consulted quantum physicists and asked them, how would time travel theoretically work? I do trust that they did their research. In fact, that's not what we're questioning here, because I am positive they did their research. And I think that's part of the problem, because the Russo brothers tried to make time travel as quote-unquote realistic as they possibly could have in their universe. And by doing so, having a concept as high concept as time travel be in their film, they had to have characters explain it over and over and over again. That scene from Hulk where he's explaining time travel, it is clunky exposition. It's funny, but it's clunky. And that's because the writers and the directors know we need to get the audience on board with this idea, otherwise it's not going to work. We need to make fun of it, that the fact that it's ridiculous, but we also need to explain it. And then they have the Ancient One explain it again. X-Men Days of Future Past's time travel is not realistic in the slightest. There is no such time travel that will ever exist. I can pretty much guarantee it. But it works in the narrative. And what their time travel does, they didn't care about making it realistic at all. What they cared about was making a compelling narrative. And in doing so, they had this version of time travel where the old and the new continue to coexist at the same time. And by doing so, there is a sense of urgency. And that is what creates the thrilling climax of Days of Future Past, where both past and future are fighting to maintain their realities and save themselves. It makes the film work. And never once are you there questioning, going, hey, wait a second, this doesn't make sense because scientifically, the quantum realm doesn't do this and doesn't do that. No one cares in X-Men Days of Future Past because they're enjoying the movie and accepting it for what it is. And that's what makes good time travel work. Because the second you start to nitpick any time travel movie, it's gonna fall apart. And Avengers Endgame didn't understand that because they thought that we have to make this as airtight as possible, and they just couldn't. So the fact of the matter is, what makes a good time travel movie is that they understand this concept isn't understandable. And so they just try to make it fit in the narrative as well as they possibly can. That's what Bryan Singer and his team did with X-Men Days of Future Past, and that's what the Russo brothers missed on doing in Avengers Endgame. They tried to complicate it and make it as realistic as possible, and it just didn't work. But hey, who knows? That might just be me. So what did you guys think of this video? Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think that X-Men Days of Future Past's time travel was better than Endgame's? Or do you just think that Endgame's is better in general? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to join the Access Blockbusters crew, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and show some support. If you want to check out some more videos, check out the videos on the screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.